Hello, this is Cheryl Wilson again, and thank you for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, I do abstract paintings, and if you're returning, thank you very much for being a part of my journey with me. I did notice that probably 90% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribing, so if you would help me out, I'd love to have more subscribers. YouTube looks at that and looks favorable on that. So these two paintings, I just wanted to do a little demonstration of painting from thumbnail sketches. Now, thumbnail sketches are great because you can be out walking, you can be at a lake, you can be at a beach, you can just be looking at a scene and kind of just sketch out what you see. Or you can just look around your house at things, or in your mind come up with sketches that you can just put down on paper. So that's what I did with some charcoal, and then I sprayed it with a fixative, and then I added paints on top of it. So I thought I would share this with you and let you see the process. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them down below. So I taped off two pieces of paper and just adhered them. And I'm looking through a book that I kind of do little sketches on. Some I color in, some I don't. And I'm just looking for a couple sketches or a couple thumbnail sketches that I might want to use. I already started with pencil. So you see me do these with both pencil, a piece of charcoal, and then a piece of graphite. And I'm just drawing freely, starting with the pencil. And actually, several of these are looking at the sketches I did in my little book, but kind of just, I ended up from inspiration just going with the lines I'm making. And some of them will show up in the end and some of them won't, but it's just a fun way. Now you can also do this and have a center of interest or a focal point where you add more shapes, like the one on the left, that could be a focal point there. I go more abstract and kind of rogue on most of my art pieces, so I don't go for the center of interest very often, but that is a choice that you can make. Or you can make this a very landscape looking painting and have that one spot right there, more of a landscape focal point, which would really look nice. Now I'm using there a piece of charcoal, and I'm just twisting it around. It's a very thick piece, and I'm getting different thicknesses from the edges of that. And it's actually a graphite. It's a very thick, it's extra large graphite. And I'm just enjoying making the marks, going over some of the pencil, and not caring if it is covering up the pencil or leaving some of the pencil underneath. I'm just having fun. Now I'm going back to the left one and I'm adding darker lines. You'll see me actually shade in the bottom of this just to kind of give it a little bit of a different, because the right I have an awful lot of marks on it and I add more. And the bottom I just wanted to cover in with a shading. So when you get this graphite or charcoal wet, it will smear. So you have to decide what parts you might want to have smear and what parts that you don't. In this particular painting, I was interested in, well, I grabbed a brush there that was a little stiffer, so I'm looking for another brush that has a softer edge, but I'm looking for part of this to be very smeared, and the other part I'm going to take it outside, and that part you won't see, but I'm going to spray it with the fixative so that the other black marks stay on there. So it kind of gives a interesting back and forth type of a look between some smeared and some not. And I'm just adding water to that. And you can add as much water or as little water. It's just totally up to you. And I hope that if you do this, that you just enjoy playing and not taking any of this super seriously. Just enjoy the marks that you're making, and the dark lines and the light lines. Just enjoy. And I have brought the camera up a little bit so you can see some of the colors that I'm mixing, and that's a acrylic ink. I'm just putting it straight out of the bottle and using a scraper. You can use a catalyst, any type of scraper, any that you have, just to scrape. It's a very translucent paint. A lot of the acrylic inks, that's what it is. A lot of those are transparent. So I'm just playing with a little bit of water just to get the paint to move a little bit more. And I'm just move it around. That gives it another additional layer of translucity. And is that a word, translucity? Well, anyway, I made it up. And so it's just, to me, it's very beautiful, the way the colors go on, and you see that the graphite or the charcoal does not, because I did the fixative on it, does not smear anymore. So I'm just going to add layers. I go into my abstract mode of how I create paintings, and I am going to just add some additional high flow whites. I always add whites and blacks in my paintings, and so I grabbed the titanium white, squirted it right out of the bottle, and it's also a translucent when you spread it. It's almost like veiling over when you use the scraper and scrape the high flow into the painting. So at that point, I grabbed like a little mark making tool and just did some circular marks, which I love. Where the paint is a little bit thicker, it's going to show up more. Where the paint is thinner, it's not going to show up. I'm just using a paper towel, and again, just moving the paint around, rubbing some of it in. Some of it is going to rub off, and that's what I want. I want different layers. So now I'm adding like an Indian yellow, regular golden, and some of the titanium white high flow, and I'm mixing it up. And again, I'm going to add a thicker layer, and I'm just building. I'm starting with a translucent, building to a little bit thicker, and just adding marks on the paper. And you can, still keep playing. I'm not going at a focal point or center of interest. I'm just adding paint because that's how I, as a abstract artist, love to paint. And I just end up making the marks that I love the most as an artist, and they just come out. If I get stuck, I look at a paper that has my most loved marks, and I just, like the catalyst that made the teeth marks, the circulars, that's a mark I absolutely love. You'll see me later on add a little bit of lettering, numbers in the painting. That's another mark I make. I love adding pencil marks in my paintings, sgraffito. I love adding marks with a rigger brush. So those are all marks that you'll see in majority of my paintings, and you'll see me add in here when I get to a point where I think, okay, now what else do I want to do? And that's when I am getting close to finishing a painting. I start to look to see what kind of marks that I want to make that will satisfy me as an artist, and I feel comfortable with. So I'm going to, at some point, grab a baby wipe and use that. But I get out the white. I always use the white and black. There's a pencil again, just meandering lines. Some of the paint is still wet, so it's going to make marks through the paint. If it's dried already, it's just going to have pencil marks on top. So I'm grabbing some of the Indian yellow mixture in there too, and using the black and the white and the Indian yellow, so it all kind of blends together. I'm lightening it up and just adding additional colors. Now it's going to look pretty against the other colors I have in there, the gray that kind of came out, because it's got tones of, it's not a straight gray, it's got tones of the other colors in it. Now, a lot of the colors you see in here are some of the same tones. There's nothing light or dark. So the lines underneath, the black lines are adding that kind of like the value contrast that I'd want to see. If I, sorry for my head in there. There's the baby wipe. I got it wet. If I did not have the black lines in there, I'd be adding colors that would give more of a contrast. Maybe not have muted down the gray as much, but because of the black lines in there, I do have the contrast. So, I mean, there's different ways you can go here, but for me, a lot of the paint that I'm adding there is a lot of the same. And then you'll see me grab a very dark turquoise that's a contrasting color from the yellow in the end, and it's dark, so it adds another contrast to the lighter colors or the medium colors. So I've got some light colors, I've got some medium colors, and now I'm going in with probably a rigger brush. And I'm using some of my brushes. My handmade brushes. Again, these are some marks that I love, and in my mind I'm thinking I do need to add some dark because it's a lot of the same values in there. So I'm popping it up with some black. So I make these brushes. I have a whole video of them, and I make them with tie wraps, with pieces of brooms, and just if I look around the house and I see something, I just take some duct tape, tape it together, add a stick, and then I embellish it with some pretty beads that I have. But some make, now that is from a broom, so that's going to make thicker marks, and the other was a tie wrap, and they all have a little different quality to them. And I just love you can't control the marks that those brushes make. And that jar, it's a jelly jar. I take my high flow black and put it in that jar so I can dip my brushes down in there. the nozzle of the high flow is a nozzle, so to be able to dip a brush in it, I'd have to pour it into a tray, and I can't get the brush to dip down in it, so I use the jelly jar. So I'm adding some more of like the Indian yellow or an orange or whatever the color is, but it's the acrylic, the acrylic inks again. Just bringing some of that orange back out. So I just continue to play and go back and forth and enjoy the process. And I'm going to just be quiet and let you watch what I do. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video, just painting from thumbnail sketches. It's a lot of fun. It's a way to start a painting that is, get you started. If you're really struggling starting a painting and you just don't know how to start, this is a good way to get in the studio and get painting. And it gives you, it just gives you something to be inspired from and bounce off to the next layer. So thank you for watching. Again, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.